gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's the 11th of March, 2024. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined once again by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day. And the news of the day today is actually the news of the first week of spring practice, as the Miami Hurricanes have exhaled a little bit, taken a deep breath, recharging their batteries. The players have scattered for spring break. The coaches are taking a few days off themselves, going to different places. And we are here, Matt Shodell, breaking down the first week of spring practice. And so I started a Q&A with the fans yesterday, and it's on the front page today of CaneSport.com. You guys can check it out. We're covering a lot of ground in there, a lot of interesting topics and subplots to this spring practice. And I wanted to just take time this morning just to talk through a lot of these things and share our opinions. And of course, you got to start with the quarterbacks, because you always got to start with the quarterbacks. And Cam Ward has had 3 practices now. And listen, anybody that's been out there and has seen Cam Ward directing the Miami offense understands a couple things. One, this is a kid that is potentially elite. 2, you're wondering what the National Football League is thinking, because when you watch him conduct business out there on the field, the leadership skills, the accuracy, the touch that he has on the deep ball, can go on and on and on. He looks like an NFL quarterback, and he unquestionably will be one of the better quarterbacks in college football this year if he stays healthy. Cam Ward has already checked all the boxes. Everybody loves him. He's a great guy. He's emerged as a leader. The big intrigue as we evolve here into our discussion about quarterbacks is the other guys in the room, because this is the best, Matt, that the Miami quarterback room has looked, I think, in several years. I see Reese Poppenberger come in. He looks very, very good. Emory Williams is still there, kind of the forgotten guy a little bit because of the hoopla of the transfers and the fact that Emory was not supposed to be healthy for the start of spring practice. But Emory not only has been healthy, Emory has been practicing at a very high level himself. And then there's Jakari Brown there fighting for his life at Miami, quite honestly. I mean, people get mad at me when I get real and talk about that. I just, right now, I don't know where he fits, but I'm going to put an asterisk on that, because I will be surprised if Miami goes into August with this exact same quarterback room. And I'm going to tell you why right now. Because number one, you got Reese Poppenberger. He came here with the idea of either being the starter or certainly competing for the starting job. Cam Ward was not in the picture when Reese committed to Miami. He now has an NIL deal with Canes Connection. But everybody sees this logjam of quarterback right now at Miami with Cam Ward now coming in. And there are going to be legal, illegal, whatever you want to call it. It really doesn't matter. It's semantics, because there are no laws in college football anymore. But people are going to take note of this crowded situation in the Miami quarterback room, and they are going to make back channel inquiries about the availability of Reese Poppenberger. There's no doubt about it. They're going to inquire about Emory Williams. There's no question about it. There will be some, and I'm going to call them wise individuals out there in the college football world, who are going to make inquiries about Jakari Brown, because even though he is on the outside looking in, as he has been pretty much for his entire Miami career, he is starting to show better throwing skills. And he showed some skills at the end of last year that can help a lot of people in college football that might not have the same stability at quarterback right now that Miami has. And I'm going to go out on the limb, and I'm going to say that once they go through the spring practice, that there's a very good chance Jakari is going to see that the time has come to maybe go someplace else. And he will play college football if he picks the right school. I will flat make that prediction right now. So that's going to be an interesting one to watch play out. The other one will be, does Reese Poppenberger stay here? And then the other subplot is, regardless of how all this shakes out, if Cam Ward is ever not able to finish a game or gets hurt during the course of the season, who would become Miami's quarterback? Matt, I am not so convinced that it would not be Emory Williams once again. How about that? So I threw a bunch out there. I talked for almost 7 minutes. My throat is a little hoarse right now. So I am going to put you in your element where you feel the most comfortable. I am going to give you the floor, and I promise, as you touch on all these subjects, I promise I will not interrupt you.
Oh, that's a miracle. I find it hard to believe personally, but look, if you're talking about the way a quarterback should look, I mean, if you're going to rank Miami's quarterbacks based on passing the look test, Jakari Brown's the best quarterback, probably followed by Judd Anderson. Cam Ward is probably at the bottom of the list. I mean, Cam Ward doesn't look, he's a little taller than De'Ara King, but he's got so many skills. He's got such a strong arm. He's got all this NFL ability in terms of accuracy. Like, he does everything well. He's mobile and a great leader. Like, there's nothing that he doesn't do well. So, Miami fans, the way we talk about Cam Ward, if you guys haven't seen him, you probably think he's like 7 feet tall and, 250 pounds and, runs a 4.40. It's not like that. But the reason why Gary is so excited about Cam Ward is because he's not wrong, and look, they haven't put on full pads. You don't have to gesticulate. I'd rather you talk than the nonsense you're doing.
I promise not to interrupt you, and you pushed me to the limit on the first sentence that came out of your mouth. But go ahead.
You don't think that when he stands next to Jakari and Judd Anderson that he looks like a tiny quarterback?
I think it's not about how tiny or how big you look.
That's my whole point. You don't even listen.
It's how good you look.
Literally, that's what I said. I said he doesn't pass the look test when he stands next to those two guys as quarterbacks. Those two guys look like they are NFL prototypical quarterbacks. So I'm trying to say Miami fans, when they see Cam Ward, they're not going to be very impressed. What he does in the field.
You're making a good argument in the fact that if you talked about just physically imposing, I would include Emory with the other two. And yes, Cam Ward would be the least physically imposing.
That's literally all I said. And I said, despite the look test, he's like unbelievable.
He's clearly the best quarterback.
Now, I somewhat lost my train of thought because Gary, of course, interrupted, which he said he
I did not interrupt you.
Okay, so here's where I was going with that. As great as we want to say he is, as great as every media outlet is proclaiming Cam Ward to be, and I think he is great, he hasn't done anything yet. I'm not talking about doing anything on the field during the season. Like, they're in shorts. All 3 practices last week were in shorts, okay? They were not the portion that the media is all basing this on, the first 45 minutes to an hour of practice that we watched, was all throwing to receivers with zero coverage, or throwing one-on-one receivers versus DBs, which is anyone who actually knows football knows the receiver has a huge advantage because he knows where he's going and the quarterback knows where he's going and the DB doesn't, okay? There's no help from a safety. There's no other players in the way. There's no complexity to it other than a receiver who runs a good route will be open every single time. Like, that's just the nature of that drill, okay? And Cam Ward has been on target, but to be fair, Reese Poffenbarger has, and I've been talking with other reporters also, I said, they say to me, like, I think Miami would have been fine if they didn't get Cam Ward after they see Reese. And I agree. Like, if you're basing it on 3 days in shorts, Reese has not looked that different to me than Cam. Okay, Reese has looked excellent. And Jakari's looked a lot better. Jakari has not been planting a lot of balls on the ground. There have been a couple of errant throws by him, but so much better, like so much better. So you're right. One of these guys might get picked off by another program, but like you look at Reese Poffenbarger, were there programs, major P5 programs, knocking down his door when he picked Miami? Like, he signed an NIL deal with Miami. I'm not sure another school, based on no new information other than him now being a backup at Miami, is going to be like, you know what, we're going to give you more money than Miami. Because at the end of the day, Reese could stay here, get his NIL money, and very likely start a year from now, right? He has that extra year that he can play. And all he takes is 1 year of playing really well, and you go to the NFL. It's not like the end of the world for him. Jakari, I think you're not wrong. I think the writing to some extent is on the wall for him, unfortunately, because I unlike you, I do think he can be a great quarterback. yes, it's hard to teach accuracy, but he's looked a little better. You saw some flashes against Rutgers. He can run extremely well. We know that. So really, with that run element and athleticism and him just looking, he's gained muscle. Like, there's no doubt about it. He's gotten bigger and gained muscle. He's throwing very fluidly despite adding muscle. A lot of times these guys will bulk up and they look stiff throwing the football. He looks still very fluid. And, it's just like the touch. He doesn't have the touch. If he can somehow discover touch on his passes, and put them on the money with touch, like, he's an NFL level quarterback. And Gary's not wrong. Where he is right now, he's a wide receiver in the NFL. Like, if he tried to go to the NFL right now, they'll be like, line up with the receivers. Like, Gary's not wrong. That's where the NFL would put him right now.
He should be doing that right now here at Miami. They need a big receiver. They don't have a big receiver. Like, he should be working every minute of every day.
I would have
zero skills.
I think he's good enough and athletic enough, and he knows the receiver routes already. I have no problem with him playing quarterback and receiver. If Devin Hester could play cornerback, running back, receiver, and return kicks, which he did all of those at Miami, and quarterback, he plays some Wildcat. I have no problem with Jakari doing both, and I don't think that's a disservice to him to do both. Fans freak out. Oh, don't put him at receiver, but he could do both. Like, he's that good. He is that good.
Why do people walk on eggshells, Matt, on these subjects? Like, why did James Williams stay at safety his entire career at Miami when it was so blatantly obvious that he had to move to linebacker?
He was in the box so much last year. Like, whatever, that doesn't bother me. He wasn't
listed as a linebacker. He could have gotten multiple years of reps as a linebacker, which would have helped him going to the pros. Jakari's the same way. You can gush all you want, great, whatever. I don't see him as an NFL quarterback. I do see him potentially in the right system as a very good college quarterback, but he could be a great tight end / big wide receiver, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. We don't know. We haven't seen him there yet. I've been calling for this for 2 years. But you walk on eggshells because, he wants to be a quarterback. The people close to him want him to be a quarterback. It should have been his idea 2 years ago. He might be an All-American by now as an offensive skill weapon.
Why can't he do both, Gary? Why can't?
He can, but what's he waiting for?
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. College coaches hate players that play two positions. They hate it. Like, you don't see. Deion will do it, right? He'll have an offensive and defensive guy. Just like in high school, your best players play both positions. Then you get to college, all of a sudden it's like, no. Learn one position because it's so hard to play one position. But Jakari's been here. He knows quarterback. He played for Shannon Dawson. He started last year in the bowl game. He sat every other game watching. Like, he knows quarterback. He's not going to lose any of his skills playing quarterback by playing receiver. I would love to see him play receiver, play tight end. And you know what? How about this? How about he's playing receiver and he could run some end arounds and throw passes off of backwards? Like, there's so many things you can do with Jakari because he's so talented. What I don't want to have happen is he can't redshirt. What I don't want to have happen is he's the second or third string, or probably third string or fourth string, actually, because Reese, if Cam Ward, God forbid, gets hurt in the first half of the season, Reese, if Cam gets hurt in the first half of the season, Reese is the next guy. He won't redshirt. He'll be
not if he beats out Emery. Emery's right there with him, Matt.
Well, look, Jakari and Emery have been back.
Emery is practicing at a very high level.
I understand they've both been with the threes and the fours is my point. So whether Jakari's the third team or fourth team, I don't care because he's a backup who's not going to play. He's too good not to have on the field, which is exactly what people said about Devin Hester. Like, he's so good. Why can't he be on the field? Like, he failed at cornerback. For fans to remember, Devin Hester failed at cornerback.
Potentially. We don't know how good he is. He hasn't gone out there yet.
Correct. Obviously. I'm saying coaches have this box where players play one position. All I'm saying is he can't play another position because they won't let him, But I would love to see him do both. He
won't let himself.
I think if they said to him, listen, we know what you can do at quarterback. If you want to play in games, he knows he's not starting right now at quarterback this year, Gary. It's not like he thinks he's going to beat out Cam Ward.
He walked into Mario's office and said, Coach, you know what? I want to see what I look like at receiver. I think it would take Mario about 2 seconds to say, LFG, let's do it. And he'd call up Cam Ward and Emery Williams. And he'd say, I want you guys in the practice facility at 7:00 tomorrow morning, throwing routes to Jakari. Let's see what he looks like.
Here's the problem with that, okay? Jakari shouldn't be the one who has to decide this thing. This is the problem with Miami football and the world in general right now. The children run the world. Like, why can't the adults in the room say, listen, son, you can be a great quarterback, but this year Cam Ward's our guy. we want to see if you can help us at another position in addition to quarterback. Like, what's so horrible about that? I don't understand.
I totally agree. But when you do that, Matt, you run the risk of them walking out the door. And that's why coaches walk on eggshells. Everybody's free agents now. You can leave anytime you want. So coaches walk on eggshells with their players. They don't want all these quarterbacks to leave. They got the best quarterback looking room right now that we've had in years and years and years. They want them all to stay. Reality is somebody's leaving after spring practice, in my opinion.
Jakari knows he's not. I mean, this is the problem with the argument. Jakari knows he's not starting this year. There's no harm saying to him, you're a great quarterback. You're a quarterback of the future. We want to get you on the field because you're so good. We need to keep using you. You know, we don't just need to use a running guy behind center, you know, on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1. Cam Ward can do that.
Matt, how about this, Matt? They're going to have to cut 10 to 16 or so spots. They have to cut 10 or they got to make 10 to 16 cuts after spring practice.
Who told you that 2 years ago? Who did the numbers 2 years ago?
I understand.
Everything's going to work out. It's going to be no problem. No one's going to get cut. It'll be beautiful. It's going to be a wonderful world. Who cares?
Okay, but here's my point.
Gary, Trump, Ferman, everything's going to be the best.
One of these quarterbacks is cutting themselves. Okay, how about you say to Jakari, listen, we think you could be a sensational skill player on offense. We would love to see what you look like.
Why don't you just repeat the words I say like you said them first?
But if you won't do that, you are our number 4 quarterback right now, and you probably need to go in the portal. Like, that's the facts, as cold-hearted as it is. I mean, if Reese Poppenberger says, you know what, I love it here at Miami, I am coming back, and Emery comes back as he's expected to, Jakari's number 4, man. And it's like, and that's probably, I can't imagine at this stage of his career that that's good enough for him. And I think it makes sense at that point for him to go in the portal, unless he is willing to try something different. And then they got to make a decision. Then you got to say, well, should I get rid of Michael Redding and give Jakari a chance to be that guy? Michael Redding hadn't done anything here in ages. I mean, he figures to be one of those guys that, you know, I mean, there's a whole bunch of other of them that are going to get cut. But I'm just saying, like, you know, then the coach has got to make a decision as to what, you know, how seriously they want to take this Jakari as an offensive skill weapon. I think they should take it very seriously. I mean, his radius is unbelievable. He's the big body that they do not have right now that they can count on in this offense. I would have him out there in the indoor practice facility, running routes, catching passes all day and all night. Okay. If I were Mario, because I would want to see if he can do it before I got to make all these decisions on the roster.
I guess I get to speak again. So listen, I'm just looking. So you're right. They're going to have to cut 10 to 16 guys depending. Right now they're over by 8. They have, they're going to be over by 8 when the 10 freshmen report in the summer. Okay. And this is what I was talking about before, right? So I'm just looking at it just on top of my head here. So there's only 2 seniors that aren't starters as of right now or major contributors. And that would be Campbell and Thomas Gore. And they're not getting rid of Thomas Gore. And Campbell, you know, I don't know. We'll see how he does. But he's been working in with the 2s from what I've seen. And then you go to the junior class and you're looking at, you know, Brian Ballum tried to transfer a year ago. They begged for him to come back. So he did. Chase Smith's, you know, running with the 2s and sometimes the 1s. I don't think they can get rid of him. They actually like him quite a bit. Then on the offensive line, you got Sagapolu and Dennis. Dennis maybe will be a guy you can medical relieve off the roster. But Zion Nelson, you know, I don't know. They've had him hang around for 2 years on the roster, right? Injured. I don't know what.
He'll be one of the 16.
And Sagapolu, you know, Mario loves him. I don't think they're going to cut him.
Yeah, but he'll be one of the 16 too.
We'll see. I don't know that Mario's going to do that. He loves his
degree. You got to make sure he gets his degree, and yeah.
But he loves you're underestimating how much Mario loves the character guys. So then the only other guy is maybe Redding, like you mentioned, and that's it. So there's maybe 3 or 4 juniors and seniors that you can reasonably cut that aren't going to have major roles in this team. So you're talking about 6 to 10 freshmen and sophomores, redshirt freshmen and sophomores, and redshirt sophomores that you have to say goodbye to before you even know if they're really going to live up to any kind of potential. Which is what I told Gary 2 years ago when he disagreed with me and said, no, it'll all work out fine. You're getting rid of Mario again. These guys are all Mario recruits. He's going to be cutting almost double digits of his own recruits in the last 3 classes. That's insane. That's not Mario's fault. It's Gary Ferman's fault and the NCAA's fault for putting him in this position. But like, this is what happens when you stack your roster with young guys and then realize, oh, wait a minute, we also have to win games. And you bring in all these transfers, and it's like, oh, wait a minute. Now that we have all these transfers, now what do we do when the fall comes around? Oh, shoot, the numbers didn't work out. We got to get rid of 5 to 10 of our guys we just signed in the last 2 or 3 years. Like,
it's going to work itself out. You watch.
Of course, it's going to work itself out.
I mean, guys like Sagapolu, Zion Nelson.
There's literally 5
Trevante Citizens will probably have to get medical.
You will not find more than 5 guys on my junior and senior list that are scholarship players that you can get rid of. There's not more than 5. And now you're looking at sophomores like who? AJ Allen? Trevante Citizen? No.
Citizen might
this is a sophomore list. Okay, maybe Ryan Rodriguez, maybe sophomore list. I'm going down the list. Maybe Ahmad Moten, maybe. Like who else is there? You're not getting rid of the linebackers. Jaden Harris, they love him. Marquise Williams, they love him. Damari Brown, they love him. Caleb Spencer, they're not getting rid of. Savion Riley, they just brought in. Maybe Demetrius Freeney. Like now you're talking about freshmen. Like what 10 players in this roster are you getting rid of? Now you're talking about redshirt freshmen, you got to let go. They're going to be letting mark my words, Gary, there will be redshirt freshmen that he cuts after this spring. Mark my words. And it's ridiculous.
Right. So let's work on the cuts at the end of spring practice. Let's see how spring practice
ends. You remember that I said a redshirt freshman or 2 will be gone because of numbers. You remember I said that.
Yeah, but if they're stuck in a numbers game, they might be gone on their own. They may want to leave.
Oh, yeah, they want to leave. They can't wait to leave the program they just signed with.
If they're 13, they might.
Oh, after 1 year, they're dying to get out of Miami for sure. 100% agree with you.
Let's work on the cuts at the end of spring practice. I can make 10 very easily.
No, you can't. No, you can. Look at the juniors and seniors and add them up. I don't want to
cut guys that are on the field right now for spring practice. I don't want to do that. That's distasteful.
You send me a list this morning of your 10 guys that are all sophomores, juniors, that are all redshirt sophomores, juniors, seniors. I dare you to. I dare you to. Because if you do, there will be players that are starting or competing to start on that list. That's the only way you can do it. And if you're cutting guys that are starters, you're going to be cutting starters. You're out of your mind.
I will privately send you a list.
Yeah,
I don't want to do it publicly while they're on the field.
I agree.
I don't think that's very nice. I don't want to do that to those kids and start projecting their demise. But there will be 15, 16, 17 cuts at the end of spring practice when they go in the portal to fill the holes they got to fill. It's hard to accept. It is what it is. But like, they got to do it. Like they can't move this program forward without continuing to make the talent better. And they've done that so far, but you see, it is not even close. This program is in a way better place right now than it was 2 years ago when you talk about an 85-man roster. Okay. The guys that were number 30 2 years ago are number 60 now. Okay. So they have improved this roster. But in terms of top end dudes, guys that change games, there's very few of them. I mean, you got Cam Ward now, you got Ruben Bain. I mean, there's not a running back that changes games. There's not a wide receiver that changes games. There's, you could hope that Arroyo changes games now that he's healthy, but until he does it, we'll see. Defensive ends, I mean, even Messidor, if he gets healthy, he doesn't change games. Like there's no Jalen Phillips out there. There's not a linebacker on this team that changes games, with all respect to Francisco Mayagoa. And there's certainly not a defensive back on this roster that changes games. Okay, so it is what it is. Like, this reclamation, this making Miami again, and I think Mario would be the first one to admit this, is not as easy as everybody wants it to be, including Mario, and thinks it is. It's just not. And you have to continue to improve the quality of player on the team. That means hard decisions, and it is a two-way street. Yes, we are in the age of free agency. Players can leave whenever they want, and they can be asked to leave also. And it stinks when you're on the wrong side of that, but that's the world of college football, Matt.
I mean, I said all I'm going to say about it, so we can move on. I got nothing else to add.
All right. So anyway, we, just to, finish up the conversation about spring practice. So the quarterback room is in a great place. Running back, I think they're going to need another portal body there. Jay Allen's not participating so far in spring. Obviously, you've got Henry Parrish out there doing well. But Mark Fletcher is very unlikely to make the start of the season. I'm not sure he'll play this year. I think he's so banged up that it's going to make sense to redshirt Mark Fletcher this year. And that means they're going to need another body out there. Jordan Lyle, he's going to be very good, but that's down the road. Christopher Johnson, Matt, is having a good spring so far. Keep an eye on him.
He looks like the fast. Like we were watching Henry Parrish run. I was talking with another reporter. He's not like he's just not elite. Like I hate to say, he's just not elite. Christopher Johnson has really been impressive. Like he's not the biggest guy, but if you can get him out in space a little bit, man, he can fly. He looks really, really good, and he's running with the twos. Like he legit should be with the twos. I mean, I think he looks great. That's a guy. He's not an every down guy, but he's a guy who can be a difference maker with just 10 to 15 carries a game.
Yeah, he will play this year for sure. Tight ends, Arroyo looks very good. Riley Williams is looking better. The guy
Riley Williams looks so slow. I couldn't believe how slow he was. I don't know what happened. He got heavier. He ran a route the other day. It was like he was walking. I mean, I think it was even a walk on DB. A walk on DB was sticking right with him and broke up the pass. Like it was ridiculous. I don't know what the hell happened there, but
I mean, he's okay. He's going to be fine. I
was surprised that he looked slower to me than last year when I saw him in practice, but whatever.
The guy I'm worried about is Jackson Carver. I don't know that he's going to last. I don't know that he's going to make it. He's one of those young guys that it might be better for him to transfer after the spring. We'll see. Like what I'm talking about. But the guy that
you're going to cut a redshirt freshman, bro? You said you weren't going to cut any.
I didn't say cut. I said
he's going to choose to leave. I forgot. I'm sorry.
He might choose to leave.
Right.
He might choose to leave and find himself a place. Listen, you got a true freshman that just walked in Elijah Lofton, who clearly is better than Jackson Carver. I'm sorry. So, like, what are you going to do? You're the number 4 tight end. Can I just
explain something to you? These guys knew before spring where they stood. They're not, can I say idiot? I don't know if that's appropriate. Like, they're not idiots. So, like, he knew where he stood. He knew where he stood last year. He knows where he stood entering the spring. If he was going to transfer, he would rather be in another program for the spring. He will be told to leave. They will all be told to leave, regardless of your little pie in the sky, Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, everyone's happy deal here, okay?
Some will want to leave on their own, okay? But let's not argue about that. Elijah Lofton looks very good to me. I don't see how he's not a part of this offense, preferably as an H-back. He looks like a prototypical H-back to me, a guy that you can, dump passes to out of the backfield or the slot, and he can make plays. I think Elijah Lofton is going to factor in as a true freshman. The wide receivers, Jojo Trader, you're not keeping him off the field. He is going to be a hell of a college football player. He's flashing from these very early practices
like this. He doesn't even use his second hand. They could
made a catch the other day, literally across his body with one hand.
They could amputate his arm, and he'll still be one of the best receivers in college football. Like, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, he's going to be a good player, and he's going to play as a freshman. Obviously, you've got the, Restrepo, Jacoby George, but make no mistake about it. They're one man short, okay? They need an alpha dude at wide receiver. I think they're going to go try to find it in the portal if it's there. So we'll see what happens there. On the defensive side, I'm very concerned. Quite honestly, I don't think they have enough at defensive tackle. Defensive end, with Ruben Bain there, you got to hope Messidor is healthy. If you could line up Messidor and Ruben Bain as your starting ends with Alston coming off as the third guy in the rotation, you're in a decent place at defensive end. Defensive tackle, I'm a little concerned, just being honest. Linebacker, Francisco Mayagoa is solid. I'm not sure that Wesley Bassane, he's got to prove that he could be counted on. The other thing is, I'm not sure about all those freshman linebackers they took last year. I keep hearing Cam Pruitt. Maybe Cam Pruitt by the end of spring can jump out and establish himself at linebacker, but you're definitely going to have to run with what you bring at linebacker. They got a lot of bodies there. The defensive backs are getting torched so far in practice. Am I being fair, Matt?
Yeah, but again, they're not being put in positions to succeed. I mean, it's one.
Yeah, that's true. But the receivers and the quarterbacks are dominating.
And the DBs, and look, we've seen one-on-one receiver versus DB drills for years. They're nowhere close to the receivers. Whereas in the past, when the secondary has actually been halfway decent, like they're not getting 3 steps, 5 steps all the time. I mean, the receivers are blowing by them and then continuing to widen the gap versus the DBs making up ground. So yeah, the cornerbacks have not been impressive to me, really, any of them. I mean, you could argue, I guess, day one, Jadaeus Richard looked pretty good, a little handsy, and but he's just been grabbing a lot, and that's why he wears the oven mitts, I guess. He claims it wasn't a punishment. It was a punishment, Jadaeus. I don't know who told you that you being one of the only 2 cornerbacks who had to wear oven mitts wasn't a punishment. It was a punishment. That's why you wore giant red oven mitts while nobody else did. Sorry to break it.
Brilliant idea. I've never seen it before, but it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's great. I love that.
Brilliant idea. Love it. So anyway, there's still work to do. We will be continuing to cover spring practice, but that gives you a little bit of a snapshot on where things are after week 1. All right. There's other things on the website today. Recruiting has been just insane. And we've got a whole load of coverage. I'm not going to go through all the stories this morning here on this show. You guys can go on the website, click on recruiting news, the recruiting news link, and it'll line them all up for you. And you can see all the recruiting stories that we've had in the last few days, but tons of recruiting news out there for you guys to check out. The Miami baseball team got off to a nice start this weekend against Virginia. But
how'd they lose the last game? They come back from 4-0. They tied at 11 in the 8th inning. They just blew the last one. How great would it have been to sweep number 13 Virginia, right?
Yeah, but they're hanging in. They're doing okay. The basketball team is horrific. Their season could be over Tuesday at the ACC tournament when they play Boston College. I believe 7:00 tip off. Joe, who would have seen this coming? I mean, just an absolute disaster. And Matt, the thing that I'm most interested in there is what is Jim Larinaga going to do now? And he's got to make quick decisions, who he's going to want back, who he's not going to want back. They got to make quick decisions on whether they want to come back. He has to put a team together. He's going to have to hit the portal.
Let me tell you something. That's a mess because NIL and basketball is a big deal, as you'd imagine, right? The Dukes and North Carolinas, there's the haves and the have-nots with NIL. And Miami right now is in danger of being a have-not because everyone who did contribute to NIL, and I know that they struggled to even get the money in place they needed last year, for this season. Like you go back and hit those people up again, and they're like, "We gave you all this money, and it was an awful team. Like I'm going to spend my money, going to Joe's Stone Crabs. Sorry, bro. Sorry, Jim." So that's a challenge, and then it becomes a spiral, and you're just never going to get back. So like. Next year is crucial for Miami to be back, so to speak. Usually football is back or not back. But next year is crucial because you have 2 bad years in a row and like NIL is going to be a disaster and the fans are going to be going nuts and now you got to maybe look for a new coach and like it's just going to be a mess.
And they've pumped the brakes on that practice facility too a little bit. Like they're rethinking it and rethinking the budget.
NIL is a disaster for programs that are private schools like Miami that rely on alumni for money because there's a certain pool for money that's not unlimited, whether Gary says it is unlimited or not. And like,
I think it's unlimited to a point, but when you're talking about $200 million,
the definition of unlimited is not unlimited to a point. That's the definition of limited.
Fair. I mean, but I don't think anybody would count on the price for that facility to be $200 million. I mean,
yeah, but you do pay it off over time. You realize that, right? It's not like you bring a brief. Radakovich doesn't bring in a briefcase filled with $200 million in it.
I do, but I also think there's been a little bit of sticker shock there. So we'll see. Well,
the problem is the money's got to go to NIL. To compete and to be competitive recurrently, you need NIL money every single year. And guess what? You have 2 or 3 bad years in a row. You can't go back to those donors and explain, but this happened and that happened, but it's happened 3 times in a row. I'm not giving you any money. Like, that's the problem. And these huge fan bases and collectives, even if a ginormous amount of the fan base is given $10, $20, That adds up when you have a ginormous fan base, alumni base, I should say. Miami has a big fan base, but a ginormous alumni base. Yeah. And when Miami just has a small alumni base, like it's a small private school compared to the Floridas, the Florida States, a lot of the AC schools actually. And that's a real danger for NIL. And it's something I said right when NIL started. I said this is not going to be great long-term for Miami unless the Miami 1%ers just are given the same amount as the 90%. It's the 90-10 rule, but it's the 91 rule for Matt Shodell. So that 1% of Miami alumni or donors or whatever, they have to give as much as 90% of these other big schools, because those 90% of these alumni bases are going to be basically giving money every single year forever. And Miami alumni base gives the same amount as those guys. Miami's behind by hundreds of millions of dollars over a span of time. And that's not sustainable when you're trying to get to 5 stars and the free agents, right? Out of the portal. It's not good. NIL is not good for the University of Miami as a private school. It's not good for any small private school in the country. It's just not. And I'm sorry, but it's the truth. And the 1%, if you're listening, you're a 1%er, you're going to have to just give a lot of money every single year, because that's the only way that Miami can compete. It's the truth. That's just the hard truth. It's the only way Miami
All right, well, that's going to do it for this morning, for Good Morning CaneSport.
You can't end on bad news. That sounded very negative. I take it back. I take it back. There's no problem with NIL. Miami will have NIL money forever. The alumni base, the fan base, it doesn't matter. They can make do with $10, $20 here and there. It's fine.
All right. Well, we do thank you for putting up with us and starting out your day with us this morning. If you're on YouTube right now and you like this show, like this channel, hit your subscribe and like buttons. It helps us with the algorithms in increasing our audience. And if you're not yet a subscriber to CaneSport.com, please come on over, join our community of fans. Well, we got a great group of fans, a lot of good give and take on a daily basis. And we think you will enjoy yourself at CaneSport.com. Come on over and help us grow and continue to do everything we can do to enhance your fan experience. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. Thanks again, everybody, and we will see you next time.